And welcome to Nerd Stalker. We are here again with a Tech Week update with my co-host, and his
Greg
name is.
Gloria, aka Social Gray on Twitter
Yeah,
for the Nerd Soccer Media Network. How you doing, man?
good, good. So really good, actually. I like a lot of the posts that you've been doing lately. You got some cool interviews. I did an interview recently with Jake Strove,
Oh yeah,
Lynda.com as an
I
instructor,
love Linda.
a couple of Adobe
I love
titles that he's instructing. Great job, and and your interview was really cool as well, Greg. Awesome job.
Yeah, no, we had some good interviews. I think you always have good insight from the design standpoint, and it was good to talk to Jake about that. So that was a really nice interview you did. Thank you.
Yeah,
That
man.
was good. You're good. All right, so should I lead you into the first item?
Please.
Video of the week, huh? Larry Lessig on May Day, PAC.
The pack, yeah. So some of you may or may not know, Larry Lessig's been out there with a goal of yesterday, helping us reduce the influence of money in politics was the objective. So regardless of what side of the aisle that you stand on, your political views, we all have to admit that lobbyists and political fundraising has impacted our government severely. So part of the goal, I believe, of this initiative, this fundraiser, if you will, to create a PAC, a super PAC, um, is to campaign, finance reform to minimize that number so that regular people like you and I can again have a voice in the government to make laws happen one way or
Trying
another.
to break the
Uh,
bipartisanship, huh?
yeah, and have our voice again, right? So the initial goal that Larry Lessig, this super genius, had is to just for $1 million was the initial sort of pilot goal, which they hit
Mhm.
really quickly, and then June 4th or 4th of July was the goal to hit 5 million, which they did with actually they went over with like 175,000 over, and it's still rising now. So we're just going to continue raising money for this thing, hopefully, and they hit their goal. So fantastic, fantastic goal for them. And so, and in May and June, I might as well just recap here. The May Day Political Action Committee launched a bold experiment. They appealed to the citizens directly to raise the money they need to get Congress committed to fundamental reform. So this is, the power of the internet again, and
Mhm.
spreading the word and fundraising online. It's super impressive, and in this case, could make a serious impact on the 2016 upcoming elections, which
Oh
it
man,
will
yeah,
be the
2 more
beginning
years, huh?
of several different initiatives. And they've also had they got about 200 members of Congress plus that are actually committing to this the
Really?
initiative as well. They have like a lot of big names: Wozniak, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the actor, Jason Alexander from Seinfeld. You can go on and on. There's tons of testimonials from all these people and from all over the place that really want this thing to succeed on both sides of the aisle. I must say, this isn't like a left or right wing thing because it impacts everyone, right? Again, it's to have everyone have a voice in government again, and not just the big corporations. Whether
Wow,
you are
that's
pro
cool.
or anti-corporation, whatever.
That's
So
cool.
check it out. Go to mayday.us. It's mayday.us to get more information. It's really great.
Very good, sir. Great opening. Great opening there.
Greg, my man, what is cramming? What is this?
Well, let's take a look here. And wanted to just share my screen. And thanks to, can you see my screen there? Yep.
Yeah, I see it. We see it. Hmm.
Hey, thanks to Steve Kovacs of Business Insider. So, I think you've heard this week that, you know, uh, the FTC had uh, laid down the law on T-Mobile against cramming, and I was trying to figure out what the hell is cramming, right?
Yeah.
So let's tell you what cramming is. So the on Tuesday, the FTC filed a lawsuit against T-Mobile from the article that said carriers would take hundreds of millions of dollars from consumers through a shady billing process called cramming. So basically, what it is, it's T-Mobile allows a third-party texting service to bill customers and if you have one of those long ass bills, I don't get the detailed bills. You could get the detailed bills later,
Hmm.
but you know, I could and it's buried in there, and it says T-Mobile took about 40% of that transaction as well. So from the article they said those charges were often buried in your bills as given wonky labels like 8888906.
crazy.
I mean,
Yeah.
really, this is a thing right here. I mean,
Uh-huh.
what the heck is that, right? And
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I don't look at my bill detail anymore. I mean, I don't know
Sure.
why. I just don't.
Yeah.
And I think anyway, but they were saying that, including statements to Business Insider, Verizon and Sprint both confirmed they no longer work with premium texting services, and AT&T declined to comment on it. So yeah,
Ah.
it's kind of unclear on whether you're still getting those charges on. But I check your bill if you
Hmm.
if you have a chance there, guys, and
Yeah, to see if they're cramming.
yeah, see if they're cramming us. I think. It was an interesting thing. I was like, what the hell is crabbing? So I had to go, and
These guys
luckily,
will always find a way to make another penny or something, huh?
well,
Wow.
and I think we'll see in an article later on with Facebook, there's a lot of services actually tracking a lot of things that we're doing as well as charging us. So
True dat. True dat.
yeah, all right. So let's go. Let me pull up the next article here. Your next one on Amazon
Amazon.
enters retail top 10. I mean, like total retail.
Yeah, yeah. So top 10 U.S. retailers, Amazon joins ranks of Walmart, Kroger for first time ever. Thanks to ibtimes.com for this one. Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos shows off his company's new smartphone, the Fire Phone, in this picture of the story. Amazon has become one of the top 10 largest companies in the U.S., jumping from number 11 to number 9 after sales increased by more than 27% from 2012 to 2013. Let me repeat that number again, 27% from 2012 to 2013. That's a phenomenal number. The e-commerce titan raked in $44 billion in sales in 2013, outpacing rivals with a staggering 17% growth in over 12 months. That's crazy. Amazon is spreading beyond its roots, beyond its core of online retailers, many of us know. Yet the impact this Seattle-based behemoth has had on the changing face of retail is unmistakable. Breaking into the top 10 is impressive feat that speaks to Amazon.com's growth. Notable is that brick-and-mortar retailers are keeping pace by continuously reinventing themselves to better serve today's anything-anywhere shopper. The impressive surge still leaves Amazon far behind retailers. This is what's really interesting as well. Leaves them far behind retailers like Walmart and Kroger, which rank at number 1 and number 2 on the list, respectively. Though Walmart still stands head and shoulders above the rest of the field with $334.3 billion in retail sales in 2013. So just to break it down a little further here, so let's remember Walmart, 334 billion, and then we got Amazon at 43 billion. Again, let's repeat: Walmart 334 billion, Amazon 43 billion. So let's not get ahead of ourselves here with getting all high and mighty with internet e-commerce, but still quite a feat for an e-commerce company to reach the levels of these traditional brick and mortars.
Absolutely, to crack the top 10. I was always wondering about that, where they exist. I thought it was even more minuscule than that, but 43 bill, wow, that's pretty good, man.
Yeah, it's quite an impressive achievement there for them. So, Greg, VMware, what's going on with those guys?
Yeah, let's share the screen here. And anyway, thanks to another Business Insider writer, Julia Bort, for this. Really appreciate that. So
we still see you.
Yeah,
there it is.
There
okay.
Got it. Yeah. So. The reign of Windows at work is coming to an end, they say, and Macs are rising fast. And this was a VMware queried 376 IT professionals and found they were increasingly being asked to buy or support Macs in the enterprise by employees who want Macs, not Windows machines. I mean, not a big surprise, but it is a surprise because Windows has owned the enterprise for so long, as you know, my friend, right?
Yeah.
And Microsoft Windows has dominated enterprise desktops for close to 3 decades, right, as the article says, and it appears its reign is coming to an end. Bring your own PC, and we talked about this last on a couple shows over the year. Bring your own device continues to transform the enterprise system, right, and Macs have become a popular and preferred option compared to Windows PCs. It says Eric Freiberg, VP of Marketing at of End User Computing at VMware in the report. So I you're on the enterprise side a lot there, my friend. I mean,
Mhm.
you've seen this transformation, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's an odd trickling in. I mean, it's not only Apple too. I mean, we're talking like Android devices and other things that are all over all these mobile devices, and not only mobile devices too. People just don't want to use these old Windows machines anymore. And not only that, virtualization has come into play too. So it's like it's almost like machines don't even matter anymore. Therefore, like the OS itself almost doesn't matter anymore. So
Mm.
it's weird to see, and in the follow up story, which I'll have after this one, it's weird to see Microsoft, or maybe not, this trend of just missing the boat. You know?
Yeah, you know, I think we published a couple articles of them trying to connect with people, but I mean, they're trying, but maybe I don't know if it's not too late, but they've lost the edge, right? I think that's the whole point of the article. It isn't that they can't maybe get a share back, but they've been in the driver's seat for so long that I don't see them retaining it actually or getting it back anytime soon,
Hmm.
if ever. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. Well, what
Agree.
about the those? I mean, Windows have tablets, right? But they still haven't got any traction from your standpoint.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, the follow up story will touch on that a little
Oh,
bit.
okay. All right. Well,
Um,
when I lead you in, my
shall
friend,
we jump into it?
let's
Okay, how
just
about
jump
that?
into it. Why
What a
Windows phones?
segue, Greg.
I'm
You're just
sorry. Yeah,
you're a pro.
yeah. Oh, so let's talk about why Windows phones can't rebound, Adolfo.
Yeah, so talking about Windows Mobile, here we go. By Taro Kittinen, thank you from Boy Genius Reports. The latest Kantar World Panel numbers for smartphone market share may not be surprising, but they are grim indeed for Microsoft. In the heart of the Windows empire in the United States, Windows Phone market share dropped from 4.7% to 3.6% between May and May year over year from 2013 2014. In Germany, the decline was from 6.2 to 5.9. In Brazil, the share remained flat at 5.5%. In China, Windows Phone saw a collapse from 3% to 0.6%. This is huge. And oddly enough, the really important one here, besides China, you would think would be the big one, is Germany. More on that later here. This may seem like just another spring a season among others, but look closer. We are in fact witnessing the final hope for any meaningful future for Windows Phone being snuffed out. First of all, in 2013, Windows Phone did have some momentum in emerging markets, and it desperately needed to maintain it. The platform's share in Brazil grew from 4.2 to 5.5 between year over year. In China, it climbed 3% thanks to an enormous effort by Nokia. Which has 20 years of history in Brazil and China among distribution and stuff like that, and goodwill. All of that helped give Windows 3% to 5% of a slice of smartphone market share. And now that pitiful toehold is already eroding, terribly washed away by the flood of $100 Android smartphones. There's no coming back from this debacle. The prices of low-end Windows smartphones cannot catch up with Android models. To do so would have then taken a rapid climb to at least a 20% share in emerging markets and associated economies of scale. That window of opportunity has now just slammed shut completely. In the
Whoa.
US and Germany, the two most important Western smartphone markets, cheapy Androids are also wounding Windows badly. But a far deeper injury comes from the inability of Windows handset vendors to exploit the one clear weakness of Apple, the lack of jumbo display smartphones. So this kind of
Mm,
touches upon the tablet question as well that you
mm,
asked, Greg.
mm.
Samsung turned phablets into a global craze more than 2 years ago, and Windows has had a chance to attack Apple with a strong range of 5 to 6 inch models. It was unable to do so. Windows Phone market share declines in the US and Germany this spring may seem relatively slight, but they are in fact a deeply shocking symptom of the naked vulnerability of Microsoft in the handset arena. This was
Wow.
the spring when Apple was genuinely weak. The new iPhones with large screens are rolling out in the autumn, leaving many consumers unwilling to buy the models with the small displays. That's why Android share in Germany moved from 77.9% to 80% over the past year. Apple is now possibly more vulnerable in the smartphone market than it has been since 2008 when it was shackled by a narrow distribution. Yet, the Windows camp has failed spectacularly to exploit this opening. Germans are nowhere near as fond as Apple as Americans or Brits. It has always been most likely a gateway to Windows Phone success in Europe. That's telling, right? So the year-over-year decline in Germany from 6.2% to 5.9% is no boring piece of statistic. It's the death knell for the entire Windows Phone project, says Boy Genius reports. I tend to agree.
Wow, that is incredible. I mean, geez, I guess they just haven't got any traction since Samsung entered the market. I mean, now Samsung's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, going back to your story, when you look at Microsoft from a high level, it's just you ask yourself, how are they doing this? They had such a dominant market share, as you said, in the enterprise. OSs everywhere, like a commodity, just given away basically when you bought a computer at any computer store back in the day.
Well,
And
there's a couple of thoughts I had on that because I think if you look at Intel and Microsoft, they're kind of tied at the hip, right? And
right. Mhm.
Windows was tied to that Intel chip, right? And
Mhm.
I kind of thought about this when I was interviewing a couple of people on at the Maker Faire, especially with the new IoT devices coming out, right? And
Mhm.
the person at I believe it was Atmel, one of the product managers at Atmel told me is that we kind of gone full circle, Greg. Is that the chip, at first, was this PC board, and then it got this PC board onto a chip, right? So they integrated all this graphics, all this hardware, right? Well, that kind of bit both Windows and in Intel in the ass because eventually, as their devices got smaller, those can compete in terms of power savings, like a separated chip with just the stuff that it needs, right? Like if you just want the video and you want some of the peripheral devices that make it work, you just add that on there. Well,
Mhm.
Intel had the whole kitchen in the box type of thing, right? And
Mhm.
so you couldn't separate it out, so they could never compete really. But but that's at the tablet level, but at the enterprise level, I wonder if that's the case too. Now that low power is kind of driving a lot of these internet farms and everything. I don't know. It's just something to think about there.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
that's one sliver of it too. But also, I think from just a corporate culture thing, you hear of
mm,
these departments, internal department wars within the company itself. So from
mm,
just a political, I mean, it's systemic. All these problems, the one you just mentioned there, like a hardware issue, or
yeah,
a chip issue, whatever
yeah,
compatibility issue, and then you have like the actual corporate issues, and then you have UX, right? The design itself, how Microsoft was laggards in that department as well, and just the innovative approach too, when they completely made fun of the iPhone that it would never sell, whatever. And but look, I think a good comparison would be to look at someone like Samsung, because
mm,
that's a company very similar. It's like a hardware,
yeah,
super,
yeah,
it's a hardware company, but extremely flexible. They came out with everything. You can call them, some people allege that they are knockoffs, right? But they did every version of everything. They have every version of everything out there, whether it's an iPhone knockoff or big, small, all kinds of weird machines and chips and things like that. It's extremely adaptable, extremely iterative, and they've have multiple different OSs that they run. Um,
yeah.
that you would have thought would have been Microsoft's model, or a particular approach that was not taken. Now they seem to be opening up to Android and iOS, right?
And no, and even opening up open source on some of their systems, which
Right.
never was the
Right.
case for the longest time.
Yeah, which is
Right?
very telling, right? The back's up against the wall. They have to do Plan B, Plan
Yeah,
C.
yeah, yeah. And the cat scratching out of the corner.
Fascinating topic, man. Thanks, Greg, for the our Microsoft. We didn't mean to bash them, but it just is what it
No,
is,
no,
right?
no, no. We love Microsoft people. It's just their situation is not something to love, actually. So
All right,
anyway,
Facebook, man. A lot of news with Facebook this.
oh man, let's go ahead and start that. Well, thanks to Jennifer Newton of the Daily News from the UK. So, as you know, Facebook finally apologized for secretly manipulating nearly 1 million people's accounts in a huge psychology experiment. So
Yeah.
uh, I think the reason why the UK covered this one, which Sheryl Sundberg is the one that actually kind of apologized. Sheryl was in a meeting in India, and this 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 online site, Mail Online, they cover a lot of stuff coming out of India as well. So it's not
Hmm.
exactly a flattering picture you see there. But anyway, the chief operating officer of Facebook, Sheryl Sandberg, apologized for the manipulation of 700,000 users' accounts in a controversial secret study. Um, these comments were the first from Facebook executives since it was revealed that the social network altered users' news feeds to see it had an effect on their emotions. So, if you go back to what would happen is that there was a paper published just recently that Facebook allowed researchers to manipulate the content that appeared in the main section or news feed of 700,000 randomly selected users in a single week in January of 2012. So the data scientists were trying to correct evidence to prove that this thesis that people's moods could spread like emotional contagion, um, uh, depending on the type of content that they were reading. So
I'd always
I,
wondered if they were doing this too, you know?
yeah, exactly. I mean, with a billion plus people in your network, I mean, you could do some really,
Oh yeah, right?
you could do some, interesting studies, but not to tell the people that they were doing the study on.
Hmm.
It's interesting. But someone had brought up. I think I read a lot of articles, especially when there was several articles around that same topic where people are gathering information about you, of course, right? In fact, I think I just read one recently from Wired that this guy installed a plugin and noticed that there were about 30 on certain sites, 32 uh, cookie sites were tracking him, right? But uh, you know, one part of the argument is, well, Facebook isn't the only one doing this, right? But
Hmm.
Facebook has a big power to gather really meaningful data here, right? I mean,
Hmm.
if it's 700,000 people, come on, that's that isn't exactly 2,000, right? So their data is going to be really influential and precise, I would say,
Yeah.
to a
Well, the
degree.
Daily Mail is affecting my mood right now. Just looking at that Chris Brown story in your side column there.
Oh, yeah, you like that?
Hamina, Hamina.
Hamina. But anyway, yeah, it was their first public comment, and while they were in she was in India in New Delhi, so
Mm.
um,
Oh,
it is what it is, you know.
yeah.
Just as Cheryl says.
Get what you pay for or what you don't pay for, I suppose. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about being tracked and stuff like that? I mean, you personally, I'm just curious.
I sort of I understand both sides of it in a way because someone who's interested in analytics, you do want to understand and make your whatever your goal is, whether it's e-commerce or informational or voluntary information. You're trying to target someone and give them the best whatever it is that you need to provide them, and so you want to understand them as best you can too. Um, now now to make them manipulate their feelings, that's an interesting thing because you get into like the customer experience sort of scenarios and user experience sort of world where you're like, yeah, you do want to make them feel good about using your product, obviously, right? Like what a lot of people say about Apple, I love this thing, because it's beautiful, and then all these descriptive sort of words come to mind, these emotive type of things too. Facebook, as a lot of people don't want to admit, is a product, and well, you are the product also as well. So of course they want to make you feel good, but it's interesting that and people have often associated Facebook with a social experiment. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think if you go to the ad world, right, propaganda has been a psychological experiment for decades
yeah,
now.
yeah,
Right?
research, yeah, user
I mean,
research, yeah.
yeah, there's been a lot of ways that people have done tests on people. Now these were obviously users who knew they were being tested, but it was still
Mhm.
it's still
Yeah,
being
yeah, yeah.
tested. And there's a lot of research on that
Yeah,
social
yeah.
experiments and stuff.
And,
So
and cookie, I mean, 'cause so going back to your question, which I didn't
yeah,
quite answer, cookies have their purpose, right? So it's that's the way this particular or whatever a particular, let's say e-commerce company, Amazon for instance, will know, hey, Greg bought butter, maybe he's interested in milk or something like that.
yeah.
Not that I advise buying milk online, but you get the gist of it.
But it might be something I might even
Yeah,
try right after we
yeah,
get
yeah.
off here.
There you
But
go.
I think that just to close off the subject, I think that um, the ecosystem is also promoting this, right? So as we run ads, right, we want to learn as much about the people that are clicking on our ads as much as possible, right? And so there's all these third
Mm,
parties that are just trying to gather all this information
mhm.
for me, the actual guy delivering the ad, the company or whatever, the brand, to try to get more information. So this whole system is kind of causing this too, right?
Yeah,
I
right.
want to know more about Adolfo buying milk and butter online and using Amazon Fresh to deliver his products to his door. So I want to
Totally.
know what his buying habits are, right? So
Yeah, totally, man.
um, yeah, interesting
And
topic.
there's
I
ways to
think.
block that. There's add-ons on browsers. You can use Tor, a whole other browser, or whatever.
Yeah, we should probably talk about that one episode. But anyway, let's let's go into another hot topic, which has been a hot topic for the last year, Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has finally reached the tipping point. You said?
Yeah, thanks to Tero Kutinin, Boy Juniors reports again.
Mm.
After a rocky spring, Bitcoin is on a bit of a winning streak as notable web retailers add support. Russia, of all places, softens its stance toward the cryptocurrency, and a leading venture capitalist sweeps the entire Fed auction. Speaking in the libertarian event called Porcupine Freedom Festival, Overstock's CEO promised special deals to vendors who want to be paid in Bitcoin. It's interesting to see major execs courting favor of libertarians through Bitcoin support. This means that Bitcoin backing may turn into a marketing trick used to appeal to consumers that belong to a certain place in a political spectrum. Electronics retailer Newegg has also declared that it will accept Bitcoin as a currency. Interestingly, payment processor companies like BitPay are now springing up to remove the volatility risk from the equation, so retailers don't have to worry about the violent price movements denting their slim margins. Last Friday, government auction of 30,000 bitcoins had the most glamorous possible winner in the guise of venture capitalist Tim Draper. Of Draper, Fisher, Jurvetson, the VC juggernaut that made early bets on Skype, Tesla, and Baidu. Russia basically completed Bitcoin's recent winning streak by announcing that it won't crack down on the use of electronic currency. Earlier, Russia had made ominous pledges to bring the hammer down on Bitcoin users, which autocratic companies like Russia and China have viewed as potential underminers of their traditional currencies. Russia has also linked Bitcoin to drug trafficking and terrorism, so the softening of the stance is quite surprising. That argument is a bit ridiculous because what else is used in drug trafficking and terrorism? Dollars and rubles. Silly people. All in all, it's hard to avoid the notion that we are nearing a tipping point. Retailers and nations alike may be starting to fret over how avoiding Bitcoin may damage their competitive standing rather than worrying about what havoc the adoption of Bitcoin might bring. So a bright light for Bitcoin users and the future of the cryptocurrency in general.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, I mean, when I saw the, I guess, Overstock.com adoption, I said, wow, that's pretty amazing, actually. And the fact
Yeah,
that they're offering incentives for people to use Bitcoin
yeah.
is amazing. I mean, and
Let's not kid
so,
ourselves. It still has a way to go, though. I mean,
oh, yeah,
when I watch these crypto meetings or whatever, they always bring
right.
up Overstock and Newegg as an example, especially Overstock was one of the first big names, and it's great. It gives them marketing and stuff like that too, but they have a long way to go still.
Oh,
But
yeah, yeah, and and then the consortium is the first to admit it too, right? So,
right.
that's the fact. And so, wow,
Eric, my man,
interesting.
we got a
Yeah.
guest post, Mike Wade. What's the deal here?
Yeah. Let's pull him up. Sorry about that. It's a little bit tardy there.
So
So
this
anyway,
is IMD, right?
yeah, IMD.
Fire.
Yeah. So Amazon phone may flame out, but it's still a surefire success. So I want to present two contrasting views here. So this is a Mike Wade of IMD, who's a
Cool.
professor in innovation and strategic management there at IMD. But his feeling is that the phone may not be successful, but it's going to change the way smartphones are going to be. The ecosystem for smartphones and the price point will drive it down. He's
Hmm.
saying so the reason he believes the Amazon's phone will eventually be a surefire success, as he says, for the company and the customers. And Amazon is a relentless competitor, right? It fights hard even if it has to sustain losses. So, unlike its cousin in the Northwest, we just talked about extensively,
Right.
They seem to be doing really well, and they have the infrastructure to prove it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think the company's experience in technology business from the Kindle and Amazon Web Services is just exactly what will take to make that phone a success, or at least change the game a little bit. And so it's not going to turn the world on fire. It's probably going to lose money, he said, but and maybe it'll front a second version, which they'll learn a lot more from. But cheaper and better products as you get these new competitors in the market. I think that's probably true. I mean, Apple's facing that with Samsung. As well as Samsung's facing that with Apple, so it's really good, healthy competition there for all of us, right? We're the benefactors of all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to a second article, thanks to Tony Bradley of Forbes, he says here why the Amazon Fire Phone could be a smartphone game changer. And one of the things he brought up there, which I thought was really, really interesting. Let's go down to the article where he kind of says it. So the brand reputation, customer loyalty of Amazon, compared with the few features of the Fire Phone that are unique. So dynamic perspective, Firefly, Mayday, the customer service thing, and Amazon Prime membership make the Amazon smartphone a kind of compelling newcomer. The Firefly one's kind of interesting. I think that's where they scan the barcode and you order the thing online automatically, wherever you're at, and it goes through obviously Amazon, right?
Yeah.
You just scan it, and it'll say, "Hey, we'll offer you this price for this," or I mean, it's fascinating, that technology. I mean, that what you could do with it, and so maybe that's going to drive the market in a different view on the actual experience. So in Tony's article here, he's saying that, well, all the smartphones are starting to look alike, right? I mean, with the icons, the tiling, and everything, right?
Yeah.
So this may push the market in a different user experience direction, is what he's trying to say. So I thought that was a good perspective. I don't know, what do you think about the Fire and where Amazon sits with it?
Yeah. It's I don't know. It's tough because all of us have been trained to use a phone with that doesn't really belong to any one particular. Like, there's no. Well, perhaps there is, but there is no like mainstream Walmart phone per se.
Right.
Or no mainstream Safeway phone or anything like that. So it's tough. It's tough. We're used to having a phone that we have several different corporate interests within the phone itself, right? As opposed to simply one. I mean, you could say that Apple is it, but in reality, Amazon is on my Apple phone as well, right? Amazon's one of their sort of mandates is to be everywhere, smartly enough. So they're on Android, Apple, they're on simply web, they're everywhere. They have lockers in 7-Eleven. They're all over. They're web hosting. They're this ubiquitous thing that's all over the place. But regardless of that, this just seems like another channel for them. I don't see this phone impacting the mobile market as a whole, as opposed to this phone being just another channel for Amazon.
That's a good point. I mean, Facebook has the Facebook phone, right? There's another one you could talk about in that.
Who has a Facebook phone?
I don't have a Facebook phone. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. Because he brought up earlier, which I tend to believe, is that the smartphones are almost iOS or OS agnostic, right? It's just a tool or device we use, right? And you bring up a very good point. I mean, it's just another phone you could have. It's in the mix, but it isn't like anything setting the world on fire. So that's a good perspective, man. I like that. Thank you. I appreciate that. So
it's nice to hear the other side.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those guys too. So speed round.
Let's go.
So Android, yeah. So thanks, Boy Genius reports again. Jason Siegel, your Android device might be broadcasting your location history to everyone around you. Uh-huh. So in an age where we store all our most important data on our mobile devices, we depend on device manufacturers, designers to ensure our information is kept safe. Unfortunately, potential problems are often overlooked. And the EFF has found such a problem on your Android phone or tablet, saying that if it's less than 3 years old, oddly enough, there's a high risk that it's constantly sharing your location with everyone in your vicinity while you're not connected to a Wi-Fi network. Here's how it
Ooh.
works. When you connect to a Wi-Fi network, the name of the network is stored on your device's settings. Most modern Android devices send out messages containing the names of these networks when they aren't connected in order to speed up the connection process once they get back into range. Makes sense, right?
Mm.
By intercepting these messages, a hacker could use those names of the networks to get an idea of where the user frequently connects, an especially dangerous proposition considering the less than innocuous names of many Wi-Fi networks, for instance, Bob's Apartment, Starbucks West Village, etc., etc. The EFF points out that even when the network does have a seemingly unidentifiable name, there are ways to get around that too. Although other platforms have similar vulnerabilities, the EFF believes that Android currently poses the greatest threat to its users. And Google has just said that they're going to look into it, right, kind of thing. If you want to protect yourself from constantly leaking, so this is supposed to be the fix, right? Leaking location history data, there's no foolproof method. But if you go into your device's advanced Wi-Fi settings and set the keep Wi-Fi on during sleep option to never, you can plug the leak. Here's the catch. Not only will it increase data usage and kill your battery faster, it doesn't even work on certain phones. Hopefully, Google will have a more permanent solution in the future.
Wow. Wow.
Speed round.
Speed round. Let's talk about infotainment wars, right? And this is from Digital Trends, a great group, putting some great comment out there. Ryan Waniata of Digital Trends, thank you for this article. So the infotainment war heats up, just as Apple announces, and 9 CarPlay partners. Wow, that's amazing. So last week at Google I/O conference, the tech colossus premiered a new automobile dashboard operating system, which looks decidedly similar to the Apple's CarPlay,
Yeah,
right?
it does, right? As does the new UI and everything.
Anyway, and according to Apple, new cars incorporating CarPlay will be popping up later this summer. With Google's first vehicle is going to be the Volvo XC90. I've seen, I think I've seen the BMW X5 with some Apple stuff. So I mean, they have had a long relationship, right, with BMW and Apple, right? So, I think the Connected Car Conference was also held in Asia this last week or a week ago. So I mean, everyone's abuzz with these kind of I call
Cool.
integrated systems into your car environment, right? Which just makes some sense.
Yeah.
I mean, right?
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, and look at this dashboard, right? You're saying that like we were saying earlier, we're used to this tiled experience, right?
Yeah.
And that's the way we think now, right? It's just part of our lives. It's just like pressing the start button on a Windows thing.
Totally.
Right? I mean,
Totally.
Right? So anyway, check that out. Keep track of that connected car experience. It's going to happen, and maybe not happen fast enough for a lot of you, and you might not be afford the car that it happens on, but it's coming, man. It's coming. So,
nice.
All right, let's talk about your next one. Speed round.
Speed round. Is it speed round or is it tip time?
Speed round.
Oh, speed round still. DARPA's genetically engineered super blood to protect soldiers from a major threat. So thanks to news.mike for this. So the news, biological warfare may be the next big concern for the military, but it has come up with an appropriate sci-fi invention of its own, genetically engineered blood. The new study founded by DARPA, the scientific research arm of military, has figured out how human red blood cells can be modified to produce and deliver protein antidotes and other antibody-based medicines throughout the body. With blood transfusions, these cells could theoretically neutralize biological toxins for soldiers on the battlefield. They said that we wanted to create a high-value reds, and this is very DARPA. We wanted to create high-value red cells that do more than simply carry oxygen. We've laid out the tech to make mouse and human red blood cells in culture
Whoa.
that can express what we want and potentially be used for therapeutic or diagnostic purposes. It's a bit wild, but the study published in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences has already tested the theory on mice successfully. Because red
Whoa.
blood cells lack chromosomes, the genetic engineering is relatively safer because they cannot replicate to produce cancerous tumors. The cells also circulate throughout the body for up to 4 months, providing longer-term protection. So what are the implications? This isn't the military's first experiment doing this. They tried this and successfully did some blood farming in 2010.
Mm.
While the idea of having genetically engineered or modified blood in your body might make you queasy, these innovations certainly have greater medical implications for civilians as well. For instance, instead of carrying antitoxin antibodies, red blood cells can be engineered to deliver drugs to organs, remove bad cholesterol, carry proteins to treat clots and thrombosis, good luck for saying that, and more. We may be years away from being cured by our own blood, but the idea is still crazy exciting. So
Wow.
interesting
I think
bleeding
I've seen
edge
a
stuff
couple of
there.
movies with that, right?
Pardon the pun. Yeah, my man.
Oh man, let's speed
Speed
round,
round.
speed round. Let's go into my next one. Hey, Adweek. Thanks to Ru Ciambriello of Adweek. The last Ru I knew, I was 5 years old. But anyway, uh, um,
Cool name.
the newest, highest profile member on LinkedIn. Probably is going to write you a recommendation and endorse you, but for your propensity for tweeting anytime soon, but probably because she's plastic and she can't form sentences. So, but anyway, Entrepreneur Barbie has joined the career networking site, as you know. Her latest
Hmm.
status is my new business is Dream Incubator, where I act as a consultant, helping girls around the world help play out their imagination, try on different careers, explore the world around them. Our company tagline: if you can dream it, you can be it. Now, you know, there's been backlash for on both sides from positive comments and negative comments about
Mhm.
how Barbie is a role model for little girls and Adolfo, you have a little girl, so I mean, this is interesting, right? I mean, it's an interesting brand play
Mhm.
from that standpoint,
Mhm.
but it's also an interesting thing to kind of could be a positive messages for girls, right?
Yeah, I suppose if you're in the Barbie camp, I tend to like the Makeys and the other type of options. For whatever reason, I connotate Barbie with a one particular race and body type, and you know what I mean, type of thing. And it's nice to see the Barbie world expanding, but I think we are beyond that, in my opinion, at this point of our culture. You know,
No, I think we're in the maker stage of our culture.
but
I
yeah,
think
but it's
I
not.
think
But
girls
it's
want to be makers and not
Hey man,
not
if
Barbie
Barbie
toys.
entrepreneurs out there, good for Barbie entrepreneur. I'm
I
sure
thought it was pretty
someone.
funny. I looked at her profile. She has like 3,500 people that she's connected
There you
with
go.
right now. Not turning the world on fire, but pretty influential.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
dude. So
Tip
anyway,
time.
tip time.
Tip
I
time.
guess I'll
Back to
go into
back,
mine.
Greg. All right, give us our
Oh, I'm
11
sorry. I apologize
time
for
for
that. That
tips.
wasn't that wasn't supposed to be it, but yeah,
All
let's go ahead and just
right,
share.
Greg.
Yeah, I apologize for nothing. Yeah, apologies for nothing. Anyway, let's get to my article there. Sorry about this is from David Spark, who are friends of the program, friends of SF New
Hey,
Tech.
David.
Hey, Dave. So Spark Minute. So he put a list together of 11 time-saving tips you probably haven't considered, and I actually liked it. You guys should read it out there. So, the number one was turn off alerts, go paperless, shift private conversations to public space so you can cut down your talk time, learn how to speed read. I thought that was pretty interesting. Stop using Word for note taking. Ooh, another slam on Microsoft. Yeah.
Mm.
Use dictation instead of typing. Yeah, that makes sense. Use a text expander. Okay, well, that's all right. Speed up positive engagement by knowing what's on other people's mind. uh, get a keyboard for your tablet. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, those
Um,
are cool.
schedule appointments with MeetMe. .so.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, that's pretty
Hmm.
cool. There's a lot of good stuff in here. Only watch on demand programming.
Yeah,
Ooh, yeah. Adolfo's been into XBMC for such a long
yeah,
time.
yeah. I like
So
David's stuff. It's always like really concise type of,
fresh, right? And it's
really good
fresh.
tips that are
Yeah.
actionable type of stuff.
And then figure out the things you waste time doing most and stop doing them. mean,
Yeah.
he's just a practical dude, man. I mean, I love
Yeah,
that guy.
that's very Tim Ferriss of him. Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely,
To
right?
say.
So anyway, let's go to your tip. What do you have there, man?
So my tip is announcing Maker Camp 2014. So Maker
Ooh,
Camp,
nice.
hopefully you can see it here. They are announcing this sort of online camp. Maker Camp is a 6-week virtual camp for anyone interested in DIY making, creating, crafting, hacking, tinkering, and discovering. Check out the Maker Camp videos on YouTube, as you see here, and you'll learn about cool projects, meet awesome makers, and go on virtual field trips every Friday, I believe. They're going to amazing places like Lego, NASA, and Jim Henson's Muppeteering Factory or whatever. It's going to be really cool. So it's all virtual. They'll give you these things. They do Google Hangouts with all these projects and all these experts. This is also backed by Google also. So Maker's partnering with Google. I should say O'Reilly probably. So very exciting. Yeah,
Yeah,
it'd be fun for
no,
your
good
kids
for
over the
them.
summer to check this out.
No, good for them. I mean, Google's on the home control side, right? With a lot of its products now. So I mean, this is a great extension for them to try to, you know, make the maker thing happen. It's happening. It's
Yeah,
happening.
so speaking of what's happening coming up.
Thanks for the lead in, my friend. So we have SF New Tech this week on
New Tech.
July 9th, not at Mighty 119 Utah Street, but at AKQA. So another series
AKQA,
of, yeah,
design company, yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah, another in the series of Outside the Lines from SF New Tech. So more of the tales of UX less ordinary with Samsung. You'll have a speaker from Samsung, Salesforce, Oracle, Yelp, and AKQA, of course.
Wow,
So,
huge names. Mhm.
yep. Join SF New Tech at AKQA. You go onto our website, www.sfnewtech.com, order your tickets. Selling out fast. It sold out last time. So
Excellent.
be there.
So, Greg, where can we get more information about you?
Oh, well, you can reach me at socialgreg at nerdstalker.com, commonplace. People reach me there all the time, especially with news articles and tips, and a lot of Kickstarter reach out recently because I've been running a lot of Kickstarter unbox series here. And you can reach me at whoop, there I am, Social Greg on Twitter. Well, how about you, my friend?
You could reach me at Nerdstalker on Twitter or at aferranda is me. Also, you can reach me, Adolfo at nerdstalker.com if you want to send me an email. So about us, check out Nerdstalker on YouTube. Go to our channel, youtube.com/, I believe it's Nerdstalker TV. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our audio or video podcast and give us 5-star rating if you could. And on YouTube, also, if you're watching this now or later, give us a thumbs up, hopefully, on this thing and share it out to your friends. Let them know that we're doing this, and we appreciate all of you people out there watching and listening to us week after week. So thanks a lot, Greg.
Hey, why? We believe in tech, startups, design, and you, right?
Right on. See you all.
Be careful out there.